Welcome back. We're here with another interview in our local election education series. We've been bringing you through all of the various political positions here in town, and in particular the ones that you will see on the ballot coming up in the local election in April of 2025. And today we have another individual with plenty of insight to bring to the table, wearing a lot of hats around town, but today talking to us all about the planning board here in Milford. We have Chris Wilson joining us. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate being here.
So I want to open up, as we always do, with just sort of a big picture question, kind of getting a snapshot of the duties and responsibilities on the planning board. If you could kind of go through, in your own words, the responsibilities of a planning board member.
Yeah, sure. So planning board member is one of 5 members. You serve for a 5-year term. And mainly we do a lot of site plan review and approval is the main thing. We also have the comprehensive plan that we're working on right now. So that obviously will look at the different facets amongst Milford, where you're looking at traffic, you're looking at housing, you're looking at the different industries that are in town, and how do we continue to promote Milford. So that's going to the comprehensive plan will be a significant kind of work in progress as we're moving on. But again, the site plans, and then also looking at the bylaws, right, and how that pertains to building and construction in and around town, and understanding those bylaws and having them change and evolve with time.
I know, as I mentioned, Chris, you've been heavily involved in town. You've served multiple terms on the school committee, a part of the planning board now as well. For this particular role, what was it that stood out to you to make you want to get involved with planning board?
So when I'm not serving on on planning board or on school committee, I'm a mechanical engineer. So my mechanical engineer background, just have a general interest in kind of what is going on in and around town from that level. So wanted to serve the town just to see as the town's evolving, and kind of how do I put my knowledge from the engineering side of it and put it to practice for the planning board. So again, it was just an inherent interest that I had in the overall scheme of it.
For a planning board member, what is the time commitment factor on a week to week or month to month basis? So
we meet twice a month. Usually the meetings anywhere is right around an hour long. It just depends on the level of the agenda and how many items are on there. So obviously the 1 hour twice a month commitment. And then what I typically do is I'm looking at the agenda a few days in advance. If there is a particular property that we're going to look at from a site plan, I typically drive by that property. So however long I want to take for that time to really go look at that property, get a kind of a real life look at what the property owner is intending to do, and just try to understand it. And then also if there's anything that would impact the bylaws, right, and then going through and checking through the bylaws. So you can do a couple hours worth of prep work before a meeting, and then the meeting itself.
You mentioned you have that mechanical engineering background that really helps for a position like this. Is it truly helpful to succeed as a planning board member to have some sort of an expertise in an engineering field?
I think from a technology side of it and technical standpoint, it's helpful, but it's certainly not necessary or required. The town bylaw is in zoning bylaws, it's 100 pages. I don't know every one of those and have not committed them to memory. So if I don't know something, I can go to Larry Duncan, the town planner, or Liz Manini, the town engineer, or any one of my other planning board members, and just ask them questions. So I think that as long as you're not afraid to ask questions of answers that you just don't know, you can be very successful in being a planning board member.
What are some of the challenges that maybe the public doesn't know about that the planning board has to deal with?
I'd say the 100 pages of zoning bylaws that you have to
For sure.
to kind of, again, understand, and knowing how a site plan can or cannot be affected by those zoning bylaws. So certainly just trying to look at a site plan, reviewing the bylaws, and seeing how everything is going to work together. So those are, it's certainly a challenge, when you're just looking at something two-dimensionally on a piece of paper, but we live in a three-dimensional world.
What about some of the positives? What are some of the rewarding aspects you feel about being part of the planning board?
I think, seeing the comprehensive plan kind of develop and take shape and really have an understanding of what the people of Milford are looking for, what are the aspects that they like, and what are the aspects they're looking to improve. So I feel like that's going to be a great type of document that is coming together and that we can present to the town, and really is going to steer the town in multiple directions, right? Whether it's from the residential side, the commercial side, or the industrial side. And this, just in general, just seeing what sort of, what are people in this town looking to develop for resources, whether it is in housing or commercial or industrial side, that the residents of this town, what do they want, and what is going to be in the best benefit for our town.
Kind of zooming back out to another big picture question. So you've run for multiple elected offices here in Milford. What were maybe some of the things, when you ran for your first position here in town, what were some of the things that really were eye-opening to you about the process of first getting involved in local government?
Fortunately, I had a lot of help. I reached out to the right people that helped me. But the aspects of campaigning and what campaigning is all about. It's not just holding signs, it's not just putting signs on people's lawns, but it's really connecting with the voters of Milford. So it was, it's challenging as, print media has gone away. So what are the other aspects of how to connect with people? And certainly like something like a Milford TV provides that.
What keeps you coming back? What keeps you involved in local government year after year?
Yeah, I just enjoy it. I enjoy serving the people of Milford, the voters of Milford. Growing up, my parents were not necessarily elected positions, but they helped out in PTOs and booster clubs. So I think that kind of steered me towards a direction of public service, and I just enjoy being a voice for the voters, and hopefully that voice helps steer things to what the majority wants in our town.
So as we wrap things up, I know that as we've partnered with the Citizens for Milford on this interview series, the goal is to really inspire people out there in the community who maybe haven't taken an active role in local government to try to get more involved, whether that's to run for office themselves or get more involved perhaps in the town meeting process, showing up on election day and casting their vote. What is your advice to people out there to get more involved in their local government?
Yeah, just you mentioned all those different boards like town meeting. Town meeting, it's typically twice a year. So if you're really looking to get your voice in, and any voter in Milford can get up and speak to an issue. So I think that if you want Milford to go in a certain direction and want to voice that, that direction to the rest of the town, I think that getting on a board is what you want to do. There are multiple boards out there. We've seen in recent past that we haven't had a lot of, contested races. And even as someone that will be an incumbent for any of these future races, I still welcome challengers, right? And I can't just say I want to run, unopposed. I think that it's important to run with someone against you, just so you can talk to those issues and you can get in front of the people of Milford in a forum and be able to hear their questions and be able to answer those questions. So yeah, just get out, help out your town, be a part of it. And don't just be, as they say, the keyboard warrior that's just sitting there and saying, well, I wish they did this and I wish they did that. It's a couple hours a month of time for the planning board, so why not be a part of it? Put yourself out there a little bit. I understand that, the election process, leading up to it and campaigning, sometimes it can sound a little difficult, but it's amazing how many people will come out to help you, and it's a lot of fun just holding signs with friends and with competitors, because you just sit there, you have a good time, you joke, you enjoy it. People of Milford are driving by, beeping horns and waving in support. So it can be an enjoyable process, even though it does sound a little bit daunting.
It's great insight, great advice from somebody who really works tremendously hard in a lot of ways in this community. So again, we hope that this is helpful to everyone out there watching to really inspire you to get more involved here in the local political process here in Milford. But in the meantime, Chris Wilson, we thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.